Welcome back to The Grind for a quick video on the Act 6.2 Mr. Sinister boss, and a surprising, at least to me, takedown with Cable, because I forgot about a key utility that Cable has, because it's not the most reliable bit of utility, and it doesn't come into play that often. But as you can see, he is a Horseman of the Apocalypse. He does have a green passive that shows a poison symbol, so he's immune to poison now. And that's because every time you're inflicted with a poison debuff, you end up shortening future poisons by 20%. So I think it's after 5, it gets to 0. And at that point, your special attacks get bonus damage as well. But now there are no poisons applying to us because the duration of the poisons are reduced to 0. So this fight is annoying because it has Caustic Temper. So hitting the opponent will put a poison on you, so you need poison immunity. You also need to have a Fury buff. So I have the Angela and Heimdall synergy, so I dashed back, held block, and got the Fury buff. Otherwise, you're dealing, I believe it's 90% reduced damage if you don't have a Fury on you. So you have to be poison immune, you have to have a Fury buff, and Mr. Sinister heals from critical hits, so you either want champions that deal a majority of their damage without criticals or can deal with the healing that comes after it. So 48 hits, because his damage is primarily with those degens over time, so you don't have to worry about the healing. So I wanted to show how this poison pseudo-immunity triggers, so I went in against Immortal Abomination. I actually went in against Abomination first, and he didn't trigger any poisons. So now we're against Immortal Abomination, and that's our fourth poison now that has triggered, and the 5th one, we get that passive on us. Now, we are still getting poisons applied to us, and I think that's because Immortal Abomination's aura increases the duration of his poison effects, and we only reduce it by 100%, but if he's increasing the duration, it's going above the 100%, so we're still getting inflicted by those poisons very briefly. But I just wanted to kind of show that interaction with how once you get it triggered on you a few times, 5 times, you then get that pseudo poison immunity. And since I had forgotten about that, I didn't really expect this fight to go as well as it did, so I wasn't recording at the start of the fight. That's why it started a little bit in, but it was a fun way to take down Mr. Sinister. I had brought him along with Apocalypse for the path, which was applying bleeds to me. I forget what it's called, but it applied bleeds. So Cable just made that path super easy because each time a bleed applied, as a Horseman, he didn't take damage, so he healed from it with willpower. And each time a bleed was inflicted, I would be applying an extra degen to the opponent. So I already had him along for the path, but this fight does have 3 synergies in play with Apocalypse also being a Horseman, which doesn't really matter for this fight. It's more the synergy to stack degens, but then also having Angela and Heimdall to gain that Fury. And that's actually my preferred way to get the Fury, unless you have a champion that you use that gains Fury on its own and has poison immunity. But a lot of the ones that I had would not be able to bypass the regen from the critical hits. So I, for most of my runs, used Warlock, and instead of using the Vision synergy, because he triggers Furies when immune to a buff, but that also gives Mr. Sinister power, so it was annoying. So I went with the Angela Heimdall synergy for most of the time. Anyways, I hope that this video is interesting. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I hope to see you in the next video.